Imagine a woman who has it all, access to power, wealth, and high status. She is a believer in the one true God, but is married to one who claims to be a God. And on top of his grave delusion, he is a cruel and an oppressive tyrant, massacring the people of Bani Israel simply for believing in Allah. Pharaoh's desperation for power blinds him, but not the one closest to him, his wife. I'd like to introduce you to Asiyah bint Muzahim.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in a hadith where he said, the best women in the world were four. And from them was the wife of Pharaoh, Asiyah bint Muzahim. She lived in the time of Musa, the time of Moses, in the time of the Pharaohs. Asiyah bint Muzahim lived in a bad time. She lived in a very difficult time. She lived in a house filled with sins, kufr and shirk.
So here you have Pharaoh on the one hand ordering the killing of all boys of Bani Israel that year out of fear that the interpretation of his dream that one day a son of Bani Israel would kill Pharaoh and overtake his kingdom would come true. And on the other hand, you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspiring Musa's mother to send him down the river to the very house of Pharaoh. And as Allah would have it planned, Asiyah would be outside of the palace at the very instant when the basket carrying baby Musa would pass right in front of her. Thinking it was a treasure, and it truly was, she had the basket retrieved from the river and brought it to her. Upon opening the basket, her heart was filled with joy as she found baby Musa alayhi salam. Then the household of Pharaoh picked him up, that he might become for them an enemy and a cause of grief. And the wife of Pharaoh said, a comfort of the eye for me and for you. Kill him not, perhaps he may be of benefit to us, or we may adopt him as a son. And they perceived not the result of that. Now the very boy that Pharaoh and Asiyah welcomed into their own home was raised lovingly as their own son.
So when Asiyah saw Musa alayhi salam, she instantly fell in love with him. And this baby that fell into her hands was even more special because Asiyah alayhi salam was unable to have children.
Asiyah loved Musa alayhi salam, and after he left the palace and later became a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she would later come to believe in his message of Tawheed. Despite the cruelty and tyranny of Pharaoh against anyone who believed, she set aside her fears and accepted the message of Musa.
The one who used to comb the hair of the daughter of Pharaoh, once when she was combing the hair of the daughter of Pharaoh, the comb fell from her hands and she said, Bismillah. So the daughter said, surely you mean the name of my father. And so this woman said, no, my Lord and your Lord is Allah, and the Lord of your father is Allah. The girl said, do you want me to tell my father you said this? And this woman whose name we don't even know said, yes, go ahead. And so when Pharaoh found out, he called this slave girl, because she's a servant and a slave girl, and asked her, are you saying you have a Rabb besides me? She said, yes, my Lord and your Lord is Allah. And so Pharaoh ordered that a cauldron be put of fire, and it was boiled in front of her, and she was told that she has to throw her own children into the fire, or else acknowledge Pharaoh as her Rabb. And so one by one her children were thrown in, until finally the last one that was left was her baby that was suckling at her bosom. And so the baby spoke to his own mother and said, oh my mother, go forth and drop yourself in, because this punishment of this world is nothing compared to the punishment of the next. And so she threw herself in.
It is at that moment that Asiyah, as she saw the cruelty of Pharaoh and she saw the bravery of that woman, she says, then I'm also going to go up to him and stand up to him. So she walks up to Pharaoh that night and she says, oh Pharaoh, I have disbelieved in you and I believe in the Lord of Musa. He was shocked. He said, do you know what I'm going to do to you? She said, I know and I don't care. And Pharaoh drags her to the desert, ties her down, tortures her, deprives her of water, deprives her of food, deprives her of her dignity, her honor, strips her, his own wife. And while that's going on, she looks up to the heavens and she says, oh Allah, build for me with you a palace in Jannah. So Allah opened up the skies and she was able to see her palace in Jannah. So as she was being tortured, she looked up, she saw what she saw and she was shaded and she laughed. And Pharaoh said to the guards, look how crazy this woman is. And she laughed and she laughed and she laughed.
Seeing Asiyah laugh infuriates Fir'aun, and he thinks she's crazy. He orders his guards to go to the highest peak and to push over a giant boulder that would crush her body down below. Again, Allah the Most Merciful, answering Asiyah's dua to save her from Fir'aun, took her soul before her body was further tormented.